Off we go. So, good morning. Lionel van der Walt, you say?
That is correct, yeah.
Yes. Is sitting in front of me, and after what? 2 years of sort of catching up with one another on the pages of the Flying Typist.
Exactly,
we're sitting
yeah,
here,
yeah.
side by side, and it's kind of interesting to see you in action because you have such a smiling face, and that is actually attracting everybody. And I have to say, I've been following the ups and downs in your family,
Yeah.
but it was eventually solved positively.
Exactly, yeah. Our daughter's doing really well. She had a great recovery, and it's in a big part thanks, I believe, to all of the prayers and the love we got from the forwarding community, all sort of put out by Jeffrey and Sabir, right?
So forwarding is your Madonna, or sort of something like it.
Exactly.
Okay, good. So you're now in Raft.
Correct, yes. So
What is it?
When I left Pay Cargo, due to what happened to Emma, my
Yeah.
daughter, I took that sabbatical to take care of her, and then Raft as an opportunity came up. So Raft is basically an organization, we're a company that uses technology, AI, ML, etc., as the foundation for automating processes for freight forwarders
Okay.
across the whole shipment life cycle, meaning we do finance, operations, customs, working together with other parties in areas such as payments.
Oh, wow.
Doing things in terms of emissions tracking, and then obviously with all this data that we're moving through the platform, visibility also.
Okay, wow, that's quite. It's a life raft.
It is. Well,
For us, yes.
Well, it's interesting because it's a bit of a plan that people always ask why Raft, right?
Yes.
But it is, it's a raft as a connotation to moving goods
Yes.
also. But in English language, raft also means putting a number of things together, right?
Yes.
It's a raft of things.
Yes.
So that's the way we sort of look at the company as, it's not one-dimensional. We're this platform that does all things freight forward.
But is it also an acronym or not?
No, it's not an acronym.
Okay.
No.
Do you want me to find out what it means? I can work on it later. I'm pretty good at words.
I think you're going to have to speak to James, the CEO and one of the founders. We'll be here tomorrow.
All right. I'll think of something.
And you'll think of something and share it with James.
Well, you know the famous Alitalia, always late in taking off, always late in arrival, and Panic and Nonsense, American Miracles for Pan Am, and so on.
Yeah.
Some of these we invented. A friend of mine, late friend of mine, unfortunately, many, many years ago, sitting an evening with a lot of booze, were building this.
Being very creative.
Yes. Yeah, unfortunately, the guy died many, many years ago of AIDS, and that was very sad. One of the most intelligent person I've ever met in my life.
Oh, that's sad, but a good friend, I can tell.
Oh, yes, he was a good friend. Yes. His name was Rosario, and he was really sort of traveling everywhere. One of those person that just storms the world. Because he was working in transport and tourism, so of course that's why we got connected. So it's big. So tell me more about Raft. Tell me more about. Can I ask you something about your connection with FIATA and how you plan to?
So let's start a bit more about Raft, and then I'll talk about the connection with FIATA. I mentioned Raft is basically automating processes for freight forwarders across that whole shipment life cycle. Originally, when the company started out, and it's still part of the core foundation of the company, is using the technology, the machine learning, AI, etc. And the first stage of most everything that we do is data extraction. Okay. So that's just the basic foundational step that facilitates everything else, right? Yes. So it's extracting that data in an intelligent way. Then the next thing that we do is we integrate to the TMSs of our forwarding clients. And then we take that data that's been extracted and we match it with what's happening in the TMS. So for example, if you look at accounts payable, invoice comes in, we get the invoice, extract the data, we go to the TMS through the integration, make sure that there's a match between the accruals and that invoice. If it's a match, we do something we call straight-through processing, which basically means nobody has to touch it.
It just goes in.
It just automatically goes in and goes for approval for payment. If there is a mismatch, it basically comes back, it's flagged in our portal, and then the forwarders can then hand it over to operations. One of the biggest challenges in in accounts payable teams is they don't know necessarily who their operations person is,
Of course.
who they need to go to. But because of the integrations we've got in the TMS, we actually pull out and display for them who the job costing owner is. So it just makes it so easy for them.
Of
So
course.
basically, in our system, they can immediately allocate that document or the pack across to the job costing owner and say, please, can you have a look at this and resolve this issue for
Okay.
me?
So
And then-
basically, you take all the grind out of the job.
It's exactly, and that's the, when people think about AI and ML and all the technology that we're using, they always worry about that we're trying to take their jobs away, right? Absolutely not the case. I mean, this industry
never been
is,
the case.
This industry is 100% human, and the real value is what humans are doing, and what we're trying to do is focus the human activity on the value-add activities and serving their clients versus doing monotonous tasks that are just very, very time-consuming.
Repetition brings no money.
And don't add value.
So with FIATA, you have an agreement now, or you're making an agreement?
So, it's an interesting thing. My background was that for many years I worked with FIATA.
Okay.
So a lot of my FIATA colleagues told me I've gone to the dark side because because I spent so much time.
I didn't know that you were dark.
Because I'm working now so closely with the freight forwarding side in FIATA, but for me it's a passion, and when I look at what FIATA is doing with all of its the federation of the other associations and the members, I think it's got such a critical role to play. And then over the last couple of years, I've seen FIATA basically transform.
Yes.
It's really, really taking a much stronger leading role in driving transformation in terms of digitalization and projects like this. So from a tech company side, that to me is really important, and I want to support FIATA, and obviously I've spoken with Ivan and Stefan, and we're going to do whatever we can, both as a company, but just on a personal level. It's just my philosophy to help and drive transformation in industry.
But I mean, now you're one of the sponsors here at the HQ, an important one. But I mean, are there plans to sort of make like working agreements together or something for members?
Yeah, we'll be looking and seeing if there's opportunities to do some stuff together for members. We'll basically see this as a long-term partnership with FIATA, so it's not just a once-off we're doing an ad, and we're going to do an advert and that's it. We're really there. We're really speaking about getting involved in the technical committees to see if there's something that we can add. We've got a lot of very smart people within the company, a lot younger than me, I might say.
Yes.
And
talking to them.
getting them to share some of their ideas, and that potentially could add a lot of value within the technical committees that we're in.
Well, it's very important to remember that FIATA is a membership organization in the sense that it's for members, it's for freight forwarders and so on. And I think that taking part in the technical bodies of FIATA requires for you to become a member anyway and to be approved by the chairs, because you can't, as you're not a freight forwarder, I don't think you have direct access because you will not be appointed by any of the association members. That is the technicality in this body, but this is also one of the strengths of FIATA because you know you're dealing with. It's not going to be one man today and another person tomorrow. It's going to be sort of a continuity you can, in my view, bank on. So it's quite interesting.
But I do think, and it's still, I know there is a program with FIATA where you can have partners, right?
Yes.
Official partners.
Yes.
In a stricter terms. So that's something we're going to be doing with FIATA. And I can tell you now, I've done the same thing. We're a member of the NCBFAA.
Okay.
In the US, and working very closely on the customs side also, because a lot of what we're doing also touches, as I mentioned, with the one component is customs. So for them, there's a big impact.
Yeah. Well, in the US, this is the leading body for customs operations. So, I mean, in FIATA has traditionally customs has been a little bit sort of more on the sides of FIATA, but in the last, say, 25, 30 years, I think it has become more and more and more and more important. Because traditionally, the old-fashioned freight forwarder would not actually make the customs declaration. It would employ a broker. In history, of course, things have changed in the last 30 years, I would say. But you know, in 2026, this association is going to be 100 years old. Yeah. So that's it's older than I.
Just a little older than us.
Yes. Okay. Any plans that you want to disclose, or any future plans that are sort of in the making that you would like to share?
Well, I think it's at the end of the day, there's a lot that we're doing with the freight forwarders already. We've got some of the largest freight forwarders around the globe are working with us, but our sweet spot we really like working with, that's really, really important for us, is the large and the mid-size. Okay. So that mid-market space. Yes. And then obviously we've also got a lot of smaller forwarders that are approaching us, and we're working with them. Plans, I would say, for the future, I think one of the key things that's my passion is sustainability. We heard a lot about sustainability yesterday.
Yes.
So what we have done is we've basically partnered with a company called Pledge. So if you have a look at the landscape, there's quite a few companies doing these calculations that we're talking about, right? There's Eco Transit. Is most probably the one that is most of the larger size forwarders are all using that platform. It's very dominant, I'd say. But then for the small to medium guys out there, it's very difficult, and they don't necessarily have the reach to go to a Pledge or Ecotransit and establish.
This is going to be a challenging item for many of the small freight forwarders.
So what we've done is we've partnered with Pledge. We've actually created a solution so we can go to our clients, and they don't have to go to a Pledge or Ecotransit. They can just through Raft directly work with us to be able to get the calculations done. And what we do is, the calculation is, I don't want to say the simple part, but it's one component. The more difficult part is really getting all the required information. And if you want to get the calculations to the right degree, that's going to be required by the new. There's new regulations coming out, and Europe has already driving that, obviously. There's something called the Corporate Sustainability Reporting Directive that it was brought out at the end of 2022, and it's effectively starting in the beginning of 2024. And what that's going to do is it's going to take your financial reporting structure that you got in Europe, which is basically you have to do financials each year, and you get an auditor to audit it. They've taken that same model and transposed it onto sustainability. Okay. So what's going to happen now is you're going to have companies like the Nestle's of the world, so these big shippers, right? They're the ones who are going to feel the pinch from this new law, because they're going to have to report everything. Yes. And who they're going to go to get the information. They're going to put pressure on the forwarder.
Yes, of course.
And even if
as usual.
Yeah. And even if you're a forwarder that's not based in Europe, don't think this is not impacting you, because if you're doing business with one of these companies out of Europe, those companies are going to put pressure on you to comply. So what we're doing is we've already got a product in place, and we're working with clients right now to fine-tune it, where we get the data extraction, and we either get the data out of the TMS of the company, and if there's more data needed, like waypoints, etc., we work with visibility service providers who we integrate with, or the companies. They've got visibility service providers they're working with, and we just get
so solutions are in the making. Sort of.
Yes, exactly. And then we take that data, structure the data to go into the calculation tool.
Yes.
So if you're using Ecotransit, we put it into Ecotransit. If you don't have something, we put it through Pledge, which we've got the partnership with. So that's the one component. And then the other side is getting the data. Once you've had the calculation done, what do you do with that data, right? How do you get it into a format that's in the required way that your clients, the shippers, want it, right? So then, and all the regulators want it. So we then helping with that, making sure that we can get the data.
You create the interface so that it is readable, or
exactly. And then either display it on a website or in some reporting.
The way that it is required.
That you can.
That's great. So let me, if I may, conclude this interview with well, it's not a commercial question, but it's sort of like concluding practically. I am a freight forwarder. Well, no longer. I'm now retired. But I mean, if I were a freight forwarder today in need of these services, how would I approach you? How would your charging scheme work with me? Is this like an SAS or is this something like a contract that you're proposing? This is something interesting to know because sometimes practicalities are important.
Exactly. No,
I don't ask you to quote prices, but tell me how it works.
But money is important, right?
Yes.
So first of all, reaching out to us is very simple. If you go to www.raft.ai,
Okay.
That's the company's webpage. You'll get all the information of what we're doing. Plus, you'll get the contact details. Even simpler, look me up on LinkedIn.
Yes.
Reach out to me there, and then I can get the people in touch with whoever they need. The way that we charge to our clients is we've got a fee per shipment.
Okay.
That we charge, and the way that we incentivize our clients is obviously depending the more shipments that you're putting through our system,
Price goes lower.
the more negotiable become on the price, but it's also the more components you've got, right?
Yes.
So if you just using in finance the accounts payable module, it's going to be a bit more expensive than if you come to us and we do a holistic program and say, okay, we're going to do accounts payable, we're going to do pre-alerts, we're going to do commercial invoices, and we want to do sustainability, right? Mm-hmm. Then it changes the whole picture and the dynamic of what, but it's still charged as a fee per shipment.
Okay. Well, it's relatively simple then.
We try and keep it as simple and put it. Initially, we were charging by the document volumes, but what we discovered was obviously when you speak to a forwarder, you say, okay, so how many documents are you processing?
Depending on which.
It becomes extremely complex very quickly, right?
Yes.
So then if you start talking about shipments...
Shipments is something you can actually manage.
Yeah.
It's a more manageable concept. Documents is, one shipment can have hundreds of documents, and hundreds of documents can be one shipment. So it's... shipment is the right thing. It's quite an interesting thing, and I think the access point is not complicated. Are you giving them a trial period or something?
No, what we normally do is we go into the clients and we have what we call discovery with them, right? And we really try and understand what are their issues. We obviously have got a very clear view of most of the pain points because we see it with all the clients. We got that sort of helicopter view. Yeah. But each client is, every freight forwarder has got their own unique operation, so it's slightly different, right?
Which is a bit of a limitation in some. From some points of view.
It is, but I think this is a role that we're playing in streamlining. Yeah. So what happens is, we really listen to what their processes are, understand what the pain points are, and then we start showing them what the technology is. And we actually use their own documents. Okay. So we would get their invoices from their clients, put it through, show them, and then what we do is we'll also show them the business case and give them a very detailed business case on what are the savings they're going to get based on.
But that means you must ensure confidentiality of the work. I think
absolutely.
That absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
It's paramount because otherwise it would be sort of. It would look terribly dodgy to many freight forwarders if that wasn't ensured.
Absolutely. Every single company that we work with, there's 100% confidentiality. We've got the NDAs that we put in place with the companies, and there's agreements that are signed with them, right, which restricts us and keeps us in line, and it actually forces us to perform, right?
Yes. Well,
and deliver on what they.
At the end of the day, yes, you may actually expect some delivery.
Just maybe.
So thank you, Lionel, for being with us. I just wonder, am I able to actually even broadcast this interview on the Flying Talkers, or?
I'm 100% fine if you want to do that.
So it would be fine if we actually air it, rather than writing it.
You can air it, and just as long as you tell Jeffrey and Sabia, send my love and hugs and regards.
Yes, they're all with us. Unfortunately, they're not actually with us, but
they are there in spirit.
They are there in spirit. So thank you very much for being with us today.
It's a pleasure, Marco.
And I look forward to seeing you soon, and I wish you all best success possible in your career and in your work with us with freight forwarders.
Thank you.
From the FIATA headquarters in Geneva, this is Sunday and it's St. Joseph's Day. Thank you.
Thank you, Margaret. Oh, that was awesome.
I'm just wondering why this isn't working.